Hi there, everyone. Meteorologist Brian Bennett here with your update on Hurricane Matthew for Sunday, October 2nd. As you can see, still a very well formed, fairly symmetric Cat 4 hurricane with winds of 145 miles per hour as of the 5 p.m. update. The storm is moving off to the northwest, and we're already seeing a few very far northern outer rain bands in parts of Jamaica and parts of Haiti as well. Visible satellite imagery showing that the storm is moving off to the northwest. If you track the eye there, you can see that northwest movement. The eye looks fairly poorly formed at the moment, and we do expect some kind of strengthening and weakening of the storm, and the storm also undergoing what's called an eye wall replacement cycle. That's pretty classic with these more powerful hurricanes. Very strong winds right now in the central Caribbean. Winds have turned easterly in Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Cuba, wrapping around this large storm. Hurricane reconnaissance aircraft did find a central pressure of 946 millibars. Still a very strong storm with Cat 4 winds, likely to remain a major hurricane overnight tonight and into the day tomorrow. The path has changed just a little bit here. Perhaps slightly good news and bad news. Slightly good news for Jamaica, as it looks like the storm will go a bit farther east. That would be good news, of course, for Kingston, Jamaica, which has a fairly high population, but still very heavy rain and strong wind and large surf for Jamaica. That's why they are in a hurricane warning. Not as good news for parts of Haiti. Looks like the storm will go just a bit farther east, which means stronger winds, tornadoes, large surf, storm surge, heavy rain likely for Haiti. The storm is likely going to make landfall in very far eastern Cuba and then go up into the Bahamas. All right, Cuba is a very mountainous area. It's probably going to weaken the storm just a little bit, so it'll likely roll into Cuba as a Cat 4 hurricane, possibly weakening down to a Cat 2 or Cat 3 as it rolls into the Bahamas, but then very favorable area for development over the Bahamas, so we could see the storm maintain its major category status as it rolls off to the north. All right, everybody wants to know where the storm is going to go, how it's going to impact the United States, so let's see if I can answer a few of those questions for you. First of all, Tampa Bay. Is it possible the storm's going to roll off to the northwest and slam into Tampa Bay or anywhere in the Gulf Coast? Well, hurricanes do have a mind of their own, so never say never, but the odds of that happening are very unlikely, which is important because Tampa Bay is a very hurricane prone area due to storm surge threat. The odds of that happening, very unlikely at this point. The odds of a landfall in Miami, not completely out of the woods yet, but with each and every model run, looking less likely that the storm will make that northwesterly turn directly into Miami. We still have a bit of Cape Canaveral and the cone of uncertainty, so there is a slight chance the storm could meander west just a little bit to be very close to eastern Florida, so something to keep an eye on over the next couple of days. But right now, it's looking more and more optimistic for Florida that the largest impact will be perhaps an outer rain band, maybe a large surf, and also some erosion along the east coast of Florida. But as far as any devastating weather or even large storms anywhere central Florida and west, pretty unlikely, even looking a bit more unlikely for the east coast of Florida as time progresses. Farther up in the Carolinas, can't completely rule out a bit of a meandering off to the northwest. So the Carolinas definitely not out of the woods yet, something we'll need to track over the next couple of days. All right, here's a look at the spaghetti model plots. As you can see, we still have one of the European models actually taking the storm to the northwest, maybe impacting the east coast of Florida, but it is an outlier. We have eastern models way out in the Atlantic. The model consensus is that the storm rolls up over eastern Cuba, over probably the central Bahamas, and then stays at least about 200 or 300 miles off the east coast of Florida. Even that would be enough for some very large waves, though, again, on the east coast of Florida, but pretty much no rain bands reaching the coast if we have a storm that far out to sea. And then it looks like the storm wants to take a bit of a northeasterly track. Again, still can't rule out the storm taking more of a northerly track. So the Carolinas, even New England, will have to continue to watch this storm closely. Water vapor imagery not showing too much dry air feeding into the storm, so not much dry air to inhibit development. Also, wind shear will continue to diminish over the coming days. All right, this is really important here. This is a 500 millibar vorticity, and it shows you some of the wind directions we have. We have high pressure out in the Atlantic. We have an elongated area of low pressure in the Gulf, and we're going to have possibly a low pressure system up in New England as well. You see these wind barbs? Well, the storm is going to want to follow those wind barbs for the most part, which is going to want to take the storm off to the north, and that's why a track off to the Gulf of Mexico and then back over Tampa is very unlikely at this point, all due to this big setup that we have all over the East Coast. All right, and then once we get farther north, it's possible this high pressure could develop a bit more. If the high pressure develops just a bit more, it could take the track a little bit closer to the east coast of Florida and maybe very close to the east coast of the Carolinas or even Cape Hatteras as well. So that's a solution that's still a possibility. And then farther north, we're going to have a low pressure system. That low pressure system could help to drag the storm out into the Atlantic, having very little impact on New England. Or if that low pressure is weaker, it could actually help to drag the storm back into New England or even Nova Scotia, perhaps as an extratropical cyclone with hurricane force winds. So something to watch for the east coast of the United States over the next week or so. With any luck, the storm will take a path out to sea and have very minimal impact, if any impact, on the United States, but really too close for comfort at this point, so something we're still continuing to watch very closely. All right, here's a look at your European computer model run, and as you can see, as we head through time, the bright red color there over the Bahamas is the tropical system. As you can see, all the strong winds, according to the European, remain well offshore of Florida. So Florida not really having an impact from the storm, at least according to the European computer model. The European taking the track very close to Cape Hatteras and North Carolina. Winds could possibly gust to hurricane force strength over Cape Hatteras if this European track were to happen. And then the storm does a bit of meandering before turning off to the northeast, which again we'll have to continue to watch for parts of New England and even Nova Scotia. That's the European model, which goes out 10 days. Here's a look at the GFS model, again going over the central Bahamas, which everybody pretty much agrees with. And then it looks like it'll stay just far enough offshore of Florida to not really have much of an impact. Maybe some gusty conditions and large surf on the east coast of Florida, but that would be about it according to the GFS model here. And then continuing a bit of a northerly track, getting way too close for comfort to Cape Hatteras and parts of the Carolinas, very similar to the European run. So we could see gusty winds in the Carolinas, and this would be next weekend, 7 days out, and again maybe some rain bands as well. So a long way out, a lot of uncertainty here, even for the Carolinas. The GFS then wants to take the storm a bit northeast and then turn it back to the northwest because of that low pressure system, again moving into Nova Scotia or maybe even New England as a very strong extratropical storm. Winds would be blowing or gusting over hurricane force winds, but just not classified as a hurricane by that point. So something to watch even for the folks that far north. All right, bottom line here, folks in Jamaica need to watch out for this storm. Folks in Haiti are looking at a near direct impact. We are looking at landfall in eastern Cuba, the Bahamas. All the Bahamas need to be on guard from this storm. Even if the storm moves over the central Bahamas, it's still close enough that all the Bahamas are going to feel the effect from this storm. Can't completely rule out the east coast of Florida quite yet, but with each model run, it's looking a little less likely like the east coast of Florida is going to have an impact. And then as we get up into the Carolinas, especially up into Cape Hatteras, this is an area that's going to need to watch the storm very closely as well. And then as the storm continues to move farther off to the north, we'll have to watch that for New England and Nova Scotia as well. All right, that's a basic update, actually a pretty detailed update of what we expect to happen with the storm system. We'll have more tomorrow, but until then, hopefully you guys can enjoy the rest of your Sunday and have a great and safe evening. All right, talk to you soon.